Knowing is only half the battle. We are all very aware of the mental health crisis. We definitely know there is a problem. But we'll agree knowing is only half the battle. Today you're going to meet Kyla Turner from Mental Help, someone who's not only catching the vision, but is actually taking the knowledge and has implemented strategies to fight back. Are you willing to help join this fight once you know?
Welcome to this segment of Contagious Courage with VN King.
Kyla Turner, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to get rolling with this interview today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah,
so you are under the umbrella of DIRA Recovery Center.
Correct.
And this is an organization, a lot of people know about it, but just tell us a little bit about Adira and the mental health program and why you're so passionate about it.
Yeah, so Adira, like you said, is a recovery center for women, focusing mostly on treating addictions. And it's unique in that it's long-term, and women can actually bring their children on site. So Adira is really focused on bringing kind of unity to families, and kind of preventing future generations addiction as well. And so during COVID, we heard about this COVID grant that the government was giving out, kind of predicting that there would be a mental health crisis around COVID. And so just the CEO of Adira approached a couple of us staff and was like, anyone got ideas? We can maybe make a secondary program. And I put forward the idea of mental health. It wasn't named anything then.
Wow.
But I was just like, well, we could do this. It's a little bit based out of what I did actually my undergrad thesis on, which is like the research that I did. And we were lucky enough to be selected by the government to run the program for a year.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the program. What can people expect in this program?
Yeah, so the focus of the program, it's pretty diverse, but the whole goal is, I've been a student in psychology for a really long time. I'm really passionate about practical, but what we call empirical. So that means that there's research and data behind the tips and information that I'm sharing, because I think making sure that people have the right information is really important,
Right.
especially right now where there's kind of
Yes.
misinformation constantly. And so there's going to be about 16 videos that are recorded in high quality that go in depth onto one topic per video. So for example, I just finished recording 6 videos on like depression, ADHD, addiction. So I kind of dive into the topic. I kind of go over what we know about that topic. And then I go through actually just practical tips of how you can improve it, and give kind of just empirical recommendations that I think people can take and be like, I can actually just use this in my life. So that's kind of the goal, with all of it being free. That's kind of the exciting
that's amazing.
part. Yeah, and so attached to every video, so the videos are about 20 minutes, and then attached to every video will also be a free workbook that I'm also creating.
Wow.
And so typically there's 2 to 3 sections in each workbook, and they give you like CBT skills you can work on. They cultivate certain mindsets that are really what we see to be important for overcoming certain struggles in mental health. And again, those workbooks are free as well.
Yes.
So people can just download that, and it gives them just some extra tools to help themselves.
Wow, that's incredible. And the fact that it's free, that's incredible.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, what do you see as the biggest barrier to mental health? I mean, we have this free resource, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. First of all, I think if you go onto mental health social media, sometimes it's lacking a little bit. You'll like watch these videos and they're just really boring, right? So you're like, I do want to get better with my anxiety, but I don't want to sit through 5 minutes of a boring lecture. So part of it, I think, is just sometimes I think us professionals don't quite know how to meet the engagement need of people, especially in social media spaces. Yeah. Another huge barrier in a more kind of practical sense is finances, right? I highly recommend people going to counseling and therapy, but we do know that there's typically often kind of a wage barrier to that, and that's no fault necessarily of the therapists, but it can be up to like $2.20 an hour right now in Alberta, and for a lot of people they can't afford that. And the free resources that are available have wait lists that are upwards of like 6 months long. And so I think that there's just a lot of barriers of actual access. And what I think I'm seeing, people have submitted questions to me already that I answer in like reels. And a really common question is like, people are like, I don't really want to pay $220 and not have it be effective. Like, how do I know what's actually going to work and help, right? So I think there's just a lot of like, how do I know this works? It seems kind of ambiguous and weird. And then there's that pay barrier as well.
Right. What do you think, again, another barrier, because I want us to really talk about, it's great to have these resources, but the program that you're developing now, what do you see as a barrier even with that program, or you as a leader or an implementer of this program?
Yeah, I mean, figuring out social media algorithms is intimidating.
So knowing how to get the content out there so that the right people can see it.
So they can just see it, right? And so that can be tricky because it's like, if you don't know a program exists to help you, you can't access it, right? And so just, that's why I think like sharing things, telling your friends, you're like, hey, this mental health program, it really helped me. Hey, Vianne's book, it really helped me. I think just like really trying to share with people what is helping you can just get the word out.
And so you've invested so much time and energy and effort. What do you hope that people will get from mental health? Like, what do you foresee?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ever since I was a little kid, there's this like one little story, and there's lots of different versions of it that's always like kind of captured my heart. And it's the story about this older man walking along a beach as the tide's going out, and he's tossing starfishes back into the ocean. And he's walking along, he's stooping down and tossing one out, and a little boy runs up to him and he's like, what are you doing? Like, you can't save them all because the beach is miles long, and the reality is he can't. Like, he won't get there before all the starfishes dry out. He's like, what does it matter? And the man picks up a starfish and he like looks at it and tosses it back in the ocean. He goes, what matter to that one? And that's kind of like, while I'm being like, oh, I want to get the views, I want to get people knowing, at the end of the day, this entire program is kind of a blessing to me. I didn't expect to get it. The government's paying for its first year.
So good.
Honestly, genuinely, if one person walked away and they're like, I was able to improve my life by your resources, I'd be like, that's amazing. Or if they get involved in our community, they're like, I met one of my best friends on the mental health community. I'd be like, that is exactly what I want and nothing more, just one person.
I love that. Yeah. That's my model too. Like, if you have to worry about the likes and the follows, even though they are great, but it really is about that one person.
Right.
Because if one person can help one person, they were like, oh, this helped me, and it can help you too. So, Kyla, what do you think mental health has to offer, or that is doing, that is unique to all the other programs or things that are out there?
So one really unique element about mental health is just that it's free, right? So most programs, even if it's a little, there's like $10 or $15 fee. And again, I get it because people have to pay their own bills, right? But mental health has been covered for our first year by the government of Alberta, which is super cool. So we have this unique opportunity to provide free resources. Right. I think another really unique element is I'm a huge nerd, and I love science and data, but I have a really strong faith, and I've got lots and lots of kind of in-person experience with clients as well. So I've been told, I like to think that I'm able to kind of pull the best of what science has to offer, but then deliver it in a way that makes sense to people and is actually practical. Which I think is oftentimes a gap between science of psychology and the application of psychology. And I think I'm in a unique position to bridge that a little bit.
I think that's really good. And kind of a segue into my next question is because tell us a little bit more about what it entails and what you can share even more about the program, because you don't really have any success stories yet, right? Nobody has really gone through the program or how is that process? And what can you share about the program that someone watching might be like, this is what I need? Like, talk to somebody out there right now that needs this program, that there might be a barrier. Talk to those people and tell them why they need the program. Or maybe there's people that maybe they don't need the program, but they know somebody, right? So let's move people past the knowing. to figure out how we can get them to,
action.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, why do you need the program? I suppose if you feel like you're in a place where you're struggling and you want extra resources, and especially if you can't afford them, this program might suit your needs. I by no means think that I'm going to solve everyone's problems with my program. I'm not. I never want to oversell and underdeliver, right? But I think what's unique in my program is that I've really focused on what data shows actually leads to long-term sustainable improvement, right? And so, my honors thesis that I talked about, it was focused on building what's called an incremental mindset, which actually I'm pretty sure you'll be excited about. It's a big word that basically means believing something can change, right? And what we know is, for example, if you help somebody see, oh, I can change my social anxiety. That was what my thesis was originally on. So my whole program in my thesis was, can I convince people that their social anxiety can change? That's all I wanted to know. And the reality is that almost all mental health situations can be improved. They can change. But a lot of people, they hear about things like, well, the brain doesn't change and the neurons you got are what you got. So they're like, well, I'm kind of stuck being broken or like mentally unwell. And it's like, the reality is that's not true, right? We know about things like neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to learn and change over time. So while you're not developing new brain cells, you can learn and adapt and grow. And so, if you're somebody who's struggling to find hope, one of my focal points of every single video, regardless of the topic, is to instill hope in people, to say, it gets better.
Yeah.
Almost all of the time it gets better. And at the same time, I don't want to dismiss the suffering, right? It's not about painting silver linings for people. It's about being real and being like, man, depression sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm going to tell anyone differently. It saps the very essence of what it means to thrive out of your life. But there's still light.
Right.
There's still hope at the end of the tunnel. And it's not because the depression doesn't suck. It's in that suffering and tragedy that meaning can be wrought.
Right.
And that's what I want to talk about. That's what I'm passionate about, because that's been my life, is finding meaning, not by negating the pain, but by going through it. And so I want to give you tips on, here's how to actually go through it based on what science says, but also humanize it and be like, yeah, it's real.
Right. And that is so good. And I want to actually, let's go back a little bit when I first met you and we first talked about this. And we had actually talked about the fact that this program is so great because it's a prevention program.
Yeah.
Adira is, what happens where you go when there's a problem and there's already an addiction.
Right.
And I think I had mentioned that we go from not a problem, because I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it, and then there's a problem and it's too late.
Right.
That's the beauty of this program, because it forces us to talk. And I think for too long, people have been silenced because they're afraid to talk about depression and anxiety and all those things. And I think the beauty of this program that I believe people also need to know is that we need to be okay with talking about things.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not for you specifically, but I guarantee you got somebody in your life that needs you to know this.
Yeah.
And it's more than just knowing.
Right.
We need to put feet to the ground and actually start doing something. And if you don't hear anything else today, I feel that if you actually want to care about knowing how to move past the knowing and just do, you could actually save somebody's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Wow.
it could be your own.
Absolutely, it could be your own. Wow, this has been so rich, and there's so much more to unpack. But I just want to give people a taste of what this mental health program is and how they can find it. So tell us where they can find it, when it'll be available, and one final thought that might just push someone past the knowing into actually doing something about mental health.
Awesome. Yeah, so you can find us on Instagram, Discord, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Great thing about our program is we try to react to people's questions regularly. So if you watch a video and you have further questions, you can send us a private message, and on TikTok or one of our reels, we'll do our best to actually answer that question. Our full program is going to be available September of 2021. So it's going to be available on our website, which is mentalhelp.adira.ca. I guess a final thought to move people, I don't want to sell this program. A lot of people ask the question, well, how exactly is a workbook going to fix me if I'm like in the middle of a complete mental breakdown? And I'm not saying it will, right? I'm not trying to sell this and be like, my workbook is going to like fix your severe depression. The goal is it's another tool to put in your toolbox, because fighting mental health and dealing with mental health is a battle, and equipping yourself with any tool and every tool you can gives you the best shot. So, if you're uncertain about whether or not this program is for you, that's super fair. I invite you to try it out and give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. There's other programs that might meet your needs. But you never know. This program might just meet you at the right place at the right time in the right moment to kind of give you that extra boost to kind of get out of bed that day, or find something joyful in that day, or just improve on your well-being that week. And that's kind of my goal.
Wow, that is amazing. I will have all this information about the mental health program that Kyla has just scratched the surface, I'm sure, of today. But all that's left to say is, not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to you and your name goes all the honor and glory for his unfailing love and faithfulness. Until next time, bye for now.
Hey,
I swear we didn't plan this, right? The dress, we didn't
No.
We didn't tell each other.
We should have, though.
I know, right?
I feel like
Yes.
yeah. I like the hair.
I know,
the
twinsies.
white. Yeah. Free service, I may as well. So that I think that's a really unique element to it. Do you want me to go back and restate that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Wonderful. Woohoo!
Awesome.